Welcome back, everyone. The Sony and the Marvel people just revealed that Chiwetel Ejiofor is going to be one of the main characters in Venom 3. Most of you know him as Baron Mordo in the MCU, the Marvel movies. He also played Sorcerer Supreme Mordo in the 838 universe. So we know there's all kinds of questions about a version of Baron Mordo suddenly showing up in Venom 3 because we just saw Michael Keaton's MCU Vulture show up in the Morbius movie inside that universe. There's also a lot of talk about them working up to a version of Null inside those Sony Spider-Man spin-off movies like the Venom movies, so I'll explain that too because there's some cool deleted scenes from Venom Let There Be Carnage where they do reference the Null character. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. And speaking of big multiverse crossovers, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is going to be the next big Marvel movie and big Spider-Man related movie dropping really soon. Of course, I'll do all kinds of videos for that too. I know there's also lots of questions about that, like all the multiverse crossover, Tom Holland Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Hardy's Venom crossing over with Spider-Verse stuff. I'll explain what some of the larger plans are the next couple of years because everything is sort of building up to Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty and Avengers 6 Secret Wars. Even the Spider-Man stuff that Sony is doing separately from the MCU is sort of spinning up for a crossover in Secret Wars. But if you didn't see the news, Chiwetel Ejiofor is joining Venom 3. They didn't reveal exactly which version of the character he's going to be playing. There are a lot of theories about him being a Baron Mordo variant. I'll explain what happened to both versions of Mordo that we've seen so far in the Marvel movies. There have only been two that we've seen that we know of. There are also a lot of theories that he's playing another huge comic book character, like a lot of people want him to play the Null character, because I think he does have the gravitas to play a character like Null, but it does seem pretty early for that. There's some cool deleted scenes in Venom Let There Be Carnage where they actually reference the gods of the symbiotes, which is basically the Null character.
This is where we began.
We'll make them pay for what they did to us.
All humans are pestilence.
Oh, God.
Why look to God when you have him right here, the father of all?
But technically, isn't Eddie Brock's monster your father?
A new breed.
Wait.
I will eat your face.
Sorry.
To those who speak of humanity, we say only our offspring survive. We can create a new race, part human, part symbiote, that will rule the world. The unholy trinity.
That was part of a much longer deleted scene during Venom Let There Be Carnage. It sounds like a lot of that movie wound up on the cutting room floor, and there were just a lot of ideas that they threw at the wall, and they weren't quite ready to do a version of Null yet, so they just took that out. The whole idea with the Null character is that he's like the Thanos of the Venom characters, the symbiotes themselves, so that would be something they work up to over like 10 years worth of movies. You wouldn't go right to that. I've done a bunch of videos about him in the past because he has a deep connection with the Celestials and what's happening with the Eternals movie, and they just started to get into that during the MCU Marvel movies. He's a celestial god-level being who existed in the void of nothingness before the Big Bang, which is also what Arishem the Judge was saying during the Eternals movie, claiming that he's the first Celestial and he existed before the birth of the MCU universe. Now, the Celestials are a little bit different because there are a different group of Celestials for every single universe. There's some characters in the Marvel multiverse that are multiversal beings, so there's only one of them for the entire multiverse, and that's Null. There's one Null for the entire multiverse. Characters like that are like the one above all. Galactus, for example, super powerful character, there's a different Galactus in every single universe as well, too. Just like there are different Infinity Stones for every single universe. So it's a very rare thing. If you're a multiversal being, it means you are crazy powerful. The whole idea with Null is his grand plan is to destroy the multiverse and return everything to the chaos that existed before the Big Bang. And they're kind of doing that heading up into Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars because they're loosely adapting the plots of both the versions of Secret Wars, like the 1980s version combined with the more modern version. That's what all the incursions are about that they started teasing during Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and they'll continue dealing with in Doctor Strange 3. Different universes colliding with each other, destroying one or both of them. So it is possible that Sony could do a version of Null at some point tied to all these Secret Wars storylines that they're doing the next couple of years. And the other funny connection to Deadpool over in the Marvel movies, Deadpool 3 is a movie where they're actually going to be causing a ton of incursions. The way that Kevin Feige talks about it, he calls it a tipping point. Like you see all the dominoes of the multiverse, universes toppling, destroying each other. You have to imagine during that movie, even though it's a Deadpool and Wolverine movie, like Wolverine is the main character, you mostly blame Deadpool for stuff like this. He winds up saving a version of Wolverine, but in the process winds up destroying or almost destroying the entire multiverse. Which sounds exactly like something that Deadpool would do. You can let me know in the comments if you want Chiwetel Ejiofor to play a variant of Baron Mordo, or if you want him to play a character like Null, like somebody totally different inside Venom 3. The only other cast that they've announced so far is Juno Temple, and a long time ago Michelle Williams said that her Anne Weying character would be in all the sequels, so she'll be back, and they haven't absolutely confirmed Stephen Graham yet, but he played Detective Mulligan during Venom Let There Be Carnage. He turns into the Toxin character in the comics, and he got powers at the end of Venom Let There Be Carnage. So they were really teasing something big with that character that they have to pay off in Venom 3, or they could always decide to swerve on that, because if you remember the Morbius trailer, there were all those Spider-Man Easter eggs, all these scenes that wound up on the cutting room floor, so Sony is not above just completely removing a bunch of ideas that they teased in previous trailers and movies. The last time we saw Baron Mordo was the Sorcerer Supreme version of Baron Mordo, who was part of the Illuminati in the 838 universe, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and at the end of the movie, Scarlet Witch controls the body of Wanda from that reality, kills most of the Illuminati except for Baron Mordo. She left him alive. He's probably pretty salty about her killing the rest of his friends. R.I.P. Professor X, Reed Richards, Captain Carter, Black Bolt, and Maria Rambeau, Captain Marvel. The other interesting thing about the aftermath of that, there have been reports that they're going to pay off the missing Iron Man with a Robert Downey Jr. cameo in some future movie, or he might wind up playing a version of that character in one of the big crossovers that are coming up. I don't know if that'll come to pass, but they did explain that it was a version of Iron Man in the 838 universe that created those Ultron bots. I talked about this during my Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness videos. Tom Cruise addressed the rumors. He said that because he was booked filming Mission Impossible 7 at the time, that the talks for him to guest star as a version of Iron Man didn't make it that far along, so the reports are that Marvel just decided to swerve on that character completely and save him for some future Robert Downey Jr. cameo scene. We'll see if that winds up coming to pass, because part of the plot of Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars is supposedly going to borrow from the Avengers Forever storyline. During that storyline, a version of Kang winds up using an evil version of the Avengers from an alternate universe against the normal 616 Avengers. So it is possible we see a version of Robert Downey Jr. fighting for an evil version of the Avengers. That'd actually be pretty cool. The other cool deleted scene with Baron Mordo that didn't make it into the theatrical cut of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was the original 616 Baron Mordo from the end of the first Doctor Strange movie. If you thought it was weird that you didn't see him during that movie, it's because he was in the movie for a little while. It just wound up being a deleted scene. I think the idea is that when they were going a little more hardcore with the opening, like the rated R version of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it was more of a genuine horror film. During the beginning of that movie, in one of the opening scenes, Scarlet Witch was going to come and kill the original 616 Baron Mordo. It would have been their way of introducing her as the villain of the movie, like, oh, she's evil now. During the theatrical version, they buried the lead, having the Shumagorath-looking creature come for America Chavez, even though for copyright reasons, they couldn't call the character Shumagorath, because technically the rights for that character rest with the Conan comics, and Marvel doesn't own the Conan IP, they just published the Conan comics for a little while. Even though Sam Raimi is awesome, the original director of Doctor Strange 2, Scott Derrickson, wanted to do a rated R film, like a genuine horror film in the MCU. Kevin Feige would not let him do it, though. The saving grace on rated R Marvel movies is that they've confirmed Deadpool 3 and the Kraven movie will be rated R. The Kraven movie will be a hardcore R film. I just did a breakdown of the trailer that they released for that at CinemaCon, so I'll link that at the end of this. The whole idea with all the Spider-Verse crossover, like we're talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Secret Wars, is that they're trying to build up all these characters for a Secret Wars cameo eventually in live action. They already referenced Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man and the events of Spider-Man No Way Home during the Spider-Verse trailer. It sounds like they're slowly working those Spider-Verse characters up to move into a live-action universe and set them up for Secret Wars cameo eventually. They tried to have Tom Holland cameo during the first Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie, but he was too busy filming on all the Marvel movies at the time to actually do that. And because during Spider-Man No Way Home, Andrew Garfield specifically references coming back to do this quote-unquote again, I think that was a reference to Avengers Secret Wars. There is the Madam Web movie. The Madam Web is a multiverse character. It's also possible that Sony uses that in their Spider-Man spin-off movies to sort of set up a larger crossover for Avengers Secret Wars, and maybe even something with Null eventually too. Separately from all the Secret Wars stuff, Sony wants their own big crossover. That's more of a Sinister Six kind of thing. Let me know in the comments, which Spider-Man do you want to be part of that Sinister Six crossover movie, because eventually they do have to pay off all those Spider-Man references that they're making. Personally, I would love for that to be the Andrew Garfield version of Spider-Man. I've talked about that in all my Venom, my Morbius videos, just because there were so many Easter eggs for what they're doing now in the Morbius, the Venom movies during Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 2, so it just makes sense. They even made a bunch of Amazing Spider-Man 3 jokes during Spider-Man No Way Home when they were promoting that movie, like the Amazing Peter number 3. I'll do more Venom 3 videos when we learn more about what's going on with that movie, more about the characters, and more about the crossover, and more Spider-Verse videos as we get more trailers. Everyone click here for my brand new Kraven the Hunter trailer video and Easter eggs, and click here for my new Deadpool 3 teaser video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe and maximum effort.